world-famous Phil Hendrie Show.
877-876-PHIL. Welcome back. This is a very bizarre story. A leading Canadian psychiatrist, right? Leading Canadian psychiatrist. That's what it says. This is from The Guardian. This is The Guardian reporting from Washington. A leading Canadian psychiatrist who kept accusations of gross human rights abuses in apartheid-era South Africa hidden has been charged in Calgary with sexually abusing a male patient and is being investigated over dozens of other allegations. Now, he said he kept this hidden. It says here Dr. Aubrey Levin, who in South Africa was known as Dr. Shock because this quack tried to use electricity to cure gay military conscripts. How does this guy come to practice medicine in Canada? He was a quack in South Africa, and he gets a license in Canada. And I don't think that this indicts Canada's national health care, but this is all you need, right? Because the brain surgery that goes on in the United States, which in other words, like there isn't any brain surgery going on in the United States, there isn't any real understanding of what a health care plan is. They grab a hold of this. The Tea Party gets a hold of this stuff, man. This is like fresh red meat. Anyway, Aubrey Levin, who in South Africa was known as Dr. Shock because he would use electricity to try to cure gay military conscripts. Yeah, it's called electroshock, okay? And as a matter of fact, they used to do it in the United States. Only they put the electrodes on the brain and tried to cure a guy being a homosexual that way, and it didn't work. Neither did castration. That didn't work. Neither did chemical castration. That didn't work. All kinds of things they tried to do to gay men in the 50s and 40s and before to try to cure them of this quote-unquote disease. This guy, according to police, they're investigating similar claims by 30 other patients. This guy apparently was making sexual advances to his patients. So here's a guy that was trying to cure the, quote, disease of homosexuality, end quote, by using basically torture method of electric shock, and it turns out he's a homosexual. What if he used it on himself? Hey, Doc, there's a good idea. You ought to use it on yourself, huh, first? Well, I don't know. I don't know whether it works or not. And, well, here, go ahead and just hook the electrodes up and see what it feels like. How's that, man? So Dr. Aubrey Levin is what his name is, and he practices psychiatry there in Canada. Levin has worked in Canada for 15 years, leaving South Africa, where he was the chief psychiatrist in apartheid-era military and became notorious for using electric shock to cure gay white conscripts. He also held conscientious objectors against their will at a military hospital because they were disturbed and subjected them to powerful drug regimens. South Africa's Truth and Reconciliation Commission heard that Levin was guilty of gross human rights abuses, including chemical castration of gay men. But after arriving in Canada in 1995, he managed to suppress public discussion of his past by threatening lawsuits against news organizations that attempted to explore it. See, that's the free speech in Canada that you have been hearing so much about. You know, they're so respectful of people up there. In Canada, they actually have a term. It's called absolutist unrestrained free speech. So the idea of free speech as we understand it in the United States is considered in Canada dangerous. And I'm not kidding you. I am absolutely, as crazy as it sounds, I'm being serious. As you and I understand free speech in this country, in Canada, they consider what we have here in the United States to be dangerous and crazy. Just like, are you kidding? Now, they only have, 40 million people? How many people do they have in Canada? Not even that many? What are you afraid of up there, man? How can 40 million people get out of hand in a country that big? I mean, that's not a whole lot of people to keep in line. What are you worried about? Now comes this guy, and he threatens to sue. Every time somebody says to him, hey, pal, there's 33 million people in Canada. Thanks, Jason. I happen to know that you did thus and so in South Africa. Well, I'm going to sue you if you come out with that. And people are so frightened the way the laws are structured in Canada, well, I better not. Threatening lawsuits against news organizations that attempted to explore it. And so the news organizations, much like CBS and the Brown and Williamson debacle, decide, well, we better back off because we may be a news organization, but we also, have to go home at night and look at our wives and our kids and live in really big houses in Connecticut and be stars, see? Or you're telling me that I have to file a lawsuit that could put this company in jeopardy, and the next thing you know, my goodness gracious, we could lose. What about the truth? What about being a newsman? Folks, it all hit home for me when the Muhammad cartoons came out back in the spring of 2006. I'll never forget it as long as I live. And the industry that I had grown up in suddenly looks at me and they say, Phil, you better get those pictures off your website. Why? Well, for safety's sake. And I suddenly saw the idea of free speech in America didn't exist at all. It does not exist. Not because the government's going to take it away from us. No, because just some threatening bastard with a tablecloth on his head, he's going to take it away from me. Up in Canada, they've codified it. If you threaten to sue a guy, that's enough to shut him up because, hey, you're not allowed to speak too much truth in Canada. Otherwise, it makes things uncomfortable. I don't know how it works, man, but I tell you what, let's do this.